Have you ever felt it? That tiredness so deep, sleep can't touch it. It's a quiet ache behind your smile, an invisible weight you carry after another long day of being helpful. You tell yourself you're just busy. You tell yourself you need more rest. But what if I told you that exhaustion isn't a flaw in your character? It is the price you pay for being the good one. For years, you have been working a second invisible job, a job with no pay, no holidays, and no recognition. The job is called managing everyone else's feelings. And this job is draining you bankrupt. There is a powerful concept in Jungian psychology, one that can change the way you see your energy forever. It's the idea of a psychic bank account, a finite reserve of your life force. Carl Jung understood that the most expensive work a human can do is the act of self-suppression, the act of holding back your true self, your shadow. And your fatigue is not a sign that you are weak. It is an alarm bell from your soul's accounting department, a notification that your account is critically overdrawn. This is not another video about time management. This is about auditing your soul. Today we move from feeling to forensics. We will identify the 4 hidden leaks that are secretly draining your psychic bank account, and I will give you the first tool to become your own psychic accountant, to track down every last drop of your precious life force. It is time to stop guessing why you are so tired and start knowing.
To understand this psychic bankruptcy, we must first look at the invisible ledger. Your soul has a budget. Just as your bank account has a finite amount of money, your psyche has a finite amount of life force. Carl Jung called this fundamental energy libido, not just in a sexual sense, but as our will to live, to create, to connect, to simply be. Every choice you make is a transaction. Going to work, that is a withdrawal. Caring for a child, that is a withdrawal. Having a difficult conversation, that is a large withdrawal. But the most dangerous transactions are the ones that never appear on the statement. They are the hidden fees, the automatic payments, the silent, relentless drain that happens right under the surface of your awareness. And the single greatest hidden expense for the good person is the cost of their persona. Carl Jung gave us this word, persona, to describe the mask we wear to navigate the world. For the people-pleaser, this mask is one of agreeableness, of competence, of being easygoing. But here's the truth that is so difficult to accept. Your persona is not who you are. It is a job. A full-time, high-stress management position you never consciously applied for. And what is the job description? First, you are a hyper-vigilant emotional security guard. You are constantly scanning every room, every conversation, every interaction, not for physical threats, but for threats of disapproval, for a hint of conflict, for the possibility that someone might be unhappy with you. This state of high alert, of constant vigilance, burns an incredible amount of psychic fuel. That is a withdrawal. Second, you are a master diplomat. You are constantly choosing your words, softening your opinions, managing the emotional temperature of the room to keep the peace. You become a human shock absorber for everyone else's discomfort. This relentless emotional labor is exhausting. That is withdrawal. And third, most costly of all, you are the warden of your own inner prison. And the prison you are guarding is your own shadow. Every time you feel a flicker of anger and have to swallow it down, Every time a personal need arises and you have to tell yourself it is selfish. Every time your entire being screams no, but your mouth forces out a yes. You are performing an act of self-suppression. Holding back your authentic self is like holding a beach ball underwater. It takes a constant, muscular, psychic effort. The moment you lose focus, it shoots to the surface with explosive force. This is why you can be nice all day and then suddenly snap over something trivial. The energy required to keep that beach ball submerged is being drained directly from your life force account. Let's make this real. Let's talk about Chloe. Chloe is a nurse, 35 years old. To her colleagues and patients, she is an angel, always willing to take an extra shift, always there to listen, always smiling. Her persona is one of selfless strength. But Chloe is so tired, some mornings she cries in her car before walking into the hospital. She thinks something must be wrong with her. But let's audit her psychic account for just 1 hour of her day. 9 a.m. During a team meeting, a new protocol is announced that she believes is inefficient and bad for patient care. Her mind formulates a clear, logical argument against it. But she looks around the room. She doesn't want to be difficult. She swallows her words. She stays silent. She nods agreeably. The energy it takes to suppress her own wisdom and integrity, that is a massive withdrawal. 9:20 a.m. A younger colleague asks for her help with a task that isn't her responsibility. Her own paperwork is piling up. Her body feels a familiar tightening in her stomach. But the young nurse looks so stressed, and Chloe's identity is built on being the helpful one. She forces a smile and says, "Of course." The energy it costs to override her own need for focus, that is withdrawal. 9:45 a.m. Her phone buzzes. It's a text from her sister venting about a minor problem. Chloe wants to just finish her work, but she feels the pull of obligation, the fear of being seen as uncaring. She spends the next 10 minutes crafting a long, supportive reply. The energy she gives away, which was never truly hers to give, that is withdrawal. In less than 1 hour, Chloe's account has taken 3 major hits, and none of them will appear on any to-do list. None of them will be recognized or rewarded. This is the invisible labor of the persona. This is the silent tax on your soul for the privilege of being liked. This is the first and largest energy leak we must identify. I call it the persona tax. It is the price you pay for the performance, the energy it costs to be anyone other than your true self. And what makes this leak so devastating is that it is often connected to another, deeper leak, one that doesn't just drain you in the moment. It accumulates over time, like a debt with compounding interest, a debt owed to the parts of you that you have locked away in the dark. This is the second leak, the suppression debt, and this is what we must turn our attention to next.
But the persona tax is only the beginning of the story. It is the surface-level transaction. It's the interest payment on a much larger, darker loan, a loan taken out against your own soul. This brings us to the second and perhaps most insidious leak in your psychic bank account. I call it the suppression debt. Every emotion you do not allow yourself to feel, every truth you do not allow yourself to speak, does not simply disappear. It is not deleted. It is exiled. It is pushed down into the vault of your unconscious, into what Carl Jung called the shadow. And holding it there has a biological cost. Think of it like a dam holding back a powerful river.
The structural integrity of that dam requires a constant expenditure of energy to maintain. The more water you hold back, the more pressure builds, the more energy is required. Your unexpressed anger, your uncried grief, your unspoken disagreements, they are the river. And your exhaustion is the stress fracture in the dam. It is the psychic cost of a lifetime spent saying, "I'm fine," when you are not fine. Let's return to Chloe, our nurse. A doctor speaks to her in a condescending tone in front of a patient. It is unjust. It is unprofessional. A surge of white-hot rage rises in her chest. This rage is pure, life-affirming energy. It is the part of her that loves herself, the part that knows she deserves respect. But her persona, the good nurse, cannot be angry. So she performs the familiar psychic maneuver. She swallows. She feels the heat in her chest turn into a tight, heavy knot. She tastes the metallic tang of unspoken words. She forces a polite, tight-lipped smile. In that moment, she has just made another withdrawal. But this one is different. She has taken that pure energy of her anger and used it to fuel the prison that contains the anger itself. She has taken out another loan from her future self. This is the suppression debt. It is the energy you spend every single day, not on living your life, but on policing your own soul. And this internal state of suppression, of holding your own truth captive, it makes your psychic field permeable. It makes you vulnerable to the third energy leak, the unspoken boundary breach. A boundary is not a wall you build to keep people out. A boundary is the container for your own life force. It is the simple, sacred declaration of where you end and another person begins. For the people pleaser, this line is blurred. Often it is non-existent. And every time you fail to set a necessary boundary, your energy is not just spent, it is taken. It is siphoned. When Chloe agrees to stay late, even though she is exhausted and her family is waiting, she has allowed an unspoken boundary breach. Her colleague doesn't see himself as stealing her energy, but energetically, that is precisely what has happened. Her yes was not a gift freely given. It was a tax unwillingly paid. The feeling you get after saying yes when your body is screaming no, that sinking, resentful feeling in the pit of your stomach, that is the feeling of your psychic bank account being robbed. It is your soul telling you that a trespass has occurred. So we have the persona tax, the cost of the performance. We have the suppression debt, the cost of holding it all in. And we have the boundary breach, the cost of letting the world take too much. These three leaks alone are enough to leave a person spiritually and physically bankrupt. But the final leak is the most subtle and the most heartbreaking, because it is not about the energy you are losing. It is about the energy you are not allowing yourself to receive. I call this the golden shadow starvation. Carl Jung taught us that the shadow doesn't only contain our dark impulses like anger and rage. It also contains our gold, our disowned creativity, our suppressed joy, our undeveloped talents, our unlived passions. Your soul does not just need to be protected. It needs to be nourished. It needs to be fed. And the food of the soul is play, creativity, passion, quiet, beauty, spontaneity. But for the people pleaser, these things are seen as luxuries, as non-essential, as selfish. Chloe used to love to paint. She has a set of watercolors in her closet, gathering dust. She tells herself, I don't have time. But that is not the real truth. The real truth is she doesn't feel she has the right to spend an hour doing something just for her, something with no productive outcome, something uselessly joyful. And so she starves herself of the very thing that would fill her well. The exhaustion she feels is not just from the energy leaking out. It is from the vital, life-giving energy that is never being let in. Your soul is not just being drained, it is being starved. This is the deepest, most profound reason for your burnout. It is the exhaustion of an unlived life, the fatigue of a soul that has been denied its own golden, life-giving light. These are the 4 primary leaks: the persona tax, the suppression debt, the unspoken boundary breach, and the golden shadow starvation. Together, they form a devastating drain on your life force. But now you can see them. You can name them. You have the statement in your hands. You are no longer a victim of a mysterious illness. You are an accountant who has just discovered the discrepancies. And now that we have the map of the leaks, the real work can begin. The work of excavation. How do we take this new, painful awareness and turn it into a practice of reclamation? How do we begin the slow, patient work of plugging the leaks? That is the practical journey we will embark on right now.
To see the map of your own energy leaks laid out like this can be overwhelming. It can feel like standing in a house where every pipe is burst at once. The first impulse, the impulse of the ego, is to panic, to try and fix everything immediately, to create a 10-step plan to become a perfect boundary-setting, joy-filled person by next Tuesday. I invite you to resist that impulse. Gently. Let it go. The first step in the shadow work is not to fix, it is to see. The work of reclamation does not begin with a hammer and nails. It begins with a pen and a piece of paper and a radical act of non-judgmental observation. We are about to perform your first personal energy audit. This is not an exercise in self-criticism. It is an exercise in forensics. We are simply gathering data, with compassion and without judgment. So I invite you, right now, to find a piece of paper or open a note on your device. Draw a line down the middle, and then another line across the middle, creating 4 quadrants, 4 containers for your awareness. In the top left, I want you to write the name of the first leak, the persona tax. In the top right, the suppression debt. In the bottom left, the boundary breach. And in the bottom right, the golden shadow starvation. Now, we will become the gentle accountant of our own soul. We are not looking for grand patterns from your entire life. That is too much. We are only looking at the last 24 hours. Under the persona tax, I want you to ask yourself this simple question. Where in the last 24 hours did you put on a mask? Where did you perform? Did you fake enthusiasm in a meeting you found pointless? Did you laugh at a joke you didn't find funny? Did you act strong and capable when you felt small and scared? Just write down 1 or 2 instances. No story, just the data. Now, let's move to the suppression debt. Ask yourself, what emotion did my body signal in the last 24 hours that my mind ignored? Was there a knot of anger in your stomach that you swallowed? A sting of tears behind your eyes that you blinked back? A feeling of profound weariness that you pushed through with more coffee? Write it down. The knot, the sting, the weariness. Next, the boundary breach. The question is, where in the last 24 hours did I say yes when my soul,
my body, or my heart was saying no? Did I agree to a social plan you didn't have the energy for? Did I pick up a phone call when you craved silence? Did you allow someone to speak to you in a way that felt disrespectful and you said nothing? Just the facts. And finally, the golden shadow starvation. This one is the most tender. Ask your soul, what did you long for in the last 24 hours that I denied you? Did you long for 10 minutes of silence, but I told you we were too busy? Did you long to listen to a beautiful piece of music, but I told you it wasn't productive? Did you long to step outside and feel the sun on your face, but I told you there were emails to answer? Listen for the quiet whisper. Write down its longing. Take a moment now. Look at this page. This is not a list of your failures. This is a map. A map leading you back home to yourself. The simple, revolutionary act of writing these things down, of moving them from the unconscious darkness to the conscious light, is 50% of the healing. You have taken something that was running you from the inside, and you have put it in front of you. You have separated yourself from the pattern. You are no longer the pattern. You are the one who is observing the pattern. And in that space between the observer and the observed is where all your power lies. Let's imagine Chloe, our nurse, doing this exercise after her shift. She looks at her 4 boxes. Under persona tax, she writes, "Smiled at Dr. Adams after he was rude." Under suppression debt, she writes, "Ignored the burning feeling in my chest." Under boundary breach, she writes, "Agreed to help the new nurse when I was already behind." And under golden shadow starvation, she writes, "Wanted to sit in my car and listen to one song, but answered my sister's text instead." She looks at the list, and for the first time, her exhaustion makes sense. It is not a mysterious fog. It is the logical, predictable result of these 4 specific actions. She feels a wave of sadness, but underneath it, something else, a flicker of clarity, a sense of power. This is the power of awareness. This is the beginning of all shadow work. It is the first time in a very long time that she has listened to the truth of her own experience. So what now? Do you try and fix all 4 of these leaks tomorrow? Absolutely not. That is the path back to burnout. The invitation for this week is profoundly simple and profoundly gentle. Look at your list. Look at the data that you have gathered and choose one. Just one. The smallest one, the one that feels the least intimidating. Perhaps it's the golden shadow starvation. Perhaps the smallest, kindest act of rebellion you can perform is to give yourself permission to listen to that one song in the car. That is all. Your task for this entire week is not to fix anything. It is simply to notice, to become a curious, compassionate observer of that one single pattern. Because the moment you bring conscious, loving awareness to a pattern, the pattern begins to lose its power. You are bringing a candle into a dark room. You are not fighting the darkness. You are simply introducing the light. And in that light, everything begins to change.
Today, you did more than just watch a video. You stepped out of the fog of your exhaustion and into the clear, sharp light of awareness. You have been given a new language, a language to describe the invisible architecture of your inner world. We have learned that the profound fatigue you feel is not a personal failure. It is not a character flaw. It is a messenger.
a perfectly functioning alarm system alerting you to the critical depletion of your psychic bank account. We have moved beyond the symptom, and we have named the causes. The persona tax, the exhausting performance of being nice, the suppression debt, the biological cost of swallowing your truth, the unspoken boundary breach, the psychic theft that happens when you cannot say no, and the golden shadow starvation, the soul-deep hunger for joy and meaning. You now hold the ledger in your hands. You now possess the power that comes from seeing what was once invisible. This is the foundational act of all of Carl Jung's work. Not to judge the shadow, but to turn and face it. To bring its secrets into the light of consciousness. As Jung's brilliant student, Erich Neumann, wrote, "Only the encounter with the shadow can lead to a renewal of the personality." The exercise we did today, that simple act of writing in 4 boxes, that was your first formal encounter. That was the beginning of your renewal. You are no longer a victim of a mysterious condition. You are a cartographer, a mapmaker of your own inner landscape. So the journey forward begins not with a grand gesture, but with a quiet promise. A promise to continue listening. A promise to honor the data you have gathered. A promise to treat your energy not as an infinite resource to be given away, but as the most sacred currency you possess. It is a slow and patient path, a path of choosing yourself again and again in small, almost imperceptible ways, like listening to that one song, like taking 5 minutes of silence, like honoring the flicker of a no in your body before your mouth has a chance to say yes. This is how you begin to plug the leaks. Not with force, but with awareness. Not with self-criticism, but with unwavering compassion. You are bringing a candle into a dark room, and you are allowing its gentle light to reveal what has always been there, waiting to be seen. We have identified the 4 major leaks that drain your energy. But among these 4, there is one that acts as the master valve. The one that, if left unchecked, makes all the others worse. It is the single most expensive item on your psychic budget. The one you pay every single day in almost every interaction. It is the cost of the good person persona. What is this mask really? What is its secret full-time job description? And what is the devastating price you pay for over-identifying with it? That is the deep surgical work we will undertake in our next conversation as we place the good person persona under the microscope. For this week, your invitation is to simply stay with the awareness you have gained today. Look at your map. Honor the courage it took to create it. To make this awareness real, to ground it in a conscious choice, I invite you to participate in a sacred act of recognition. Look at the 4 leaks we have named. The persona tax, the suppression debt, the boundary breach, and the golden shadow starvation. Which one whispered your name the loudest? Which one made you pause and say, "That's me"? Share your recognition in the comments below. Not as a confession of failure, but as a declaration of awareness. By naming it, you claim power over it. By sharing it, you will see you are not alone on this path. Thank you for having the courage to audit your own beautiful soul. The journey home has begun.